Chris,
Come
welcome.
on, Harrison. Look at you.
Welcome to the Elevate Event Series podcast, man. I've been looking forward to this one since I met you over the Zoom thing last week, and I'm excited to learn about Hoover Energy. You guys do a lot of like crazy, interesting, unique stuff. You seem to be like one of the leading players in the space, and I'm just excited to learn a little bit more about it. And thank you so much for coming on.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you for having me. It's great. I've loved your approach, your style, your flair. I mean, Harrison's got it all going on, so I'm a big fan. I just one thing I gotta be clear on. I gotta make sure everyone gets this right because everyone kind of gets this off. It's hover energy, like a hovercraft. People say Hoover. We hear it all the time. It's a little embarrassing because we're not a vacuum cleaner. We do microgrids, but you're like I've heard it before, so it's no harm, no foul. But it's good that you brought it up because I can clarify right from the outset.
So, Hover Energy.
Hover.
Now, explain. So, you essentially, if I want to go off grid, I call Hover. Is that correct?
That's right. You want to operate independently from being dependent on someone else providing you power. Give us a call.
And so, your business model is essentially like I am a hospital and I want you basically make the energy grid secondary to the own power generator. Is that correct?
Yes, we have two. There's two visions that are the same thing. It's just two different ways to think about it. The way our typical or our stated vision is we want to turn the built environment into a power source. Most people are like, wait, what's the built environment? Explain that to me. It's basically any building. So we want buildings to become their own power sources. Another way to think about it is this. Our first mission is to set the grid to become your backup system. The way you and I operate today is the grid is our primary system, and if something goes wrong with it, maybe you flip on a generator at home and it works. Or maybe if you're a little bit more advanced these days, you've got a Tesla Powerwall in your garage and it's charging your car. But if the grid were to go down, you have a couple hours of power that you can get from your battery, right? What we're doing is flipping that model. So rather than those systems being the backup, those systems at your house, the generator and the battery, those become your primary systems for power all the time. And then you only use the grid when you absolutely have to. So we're flipping the model in that respect, mostly for large businesses, like you said, a hospital or a military base or a campus of a school or large industrial manufacturing, warehouses, Amazon, things like that. So all of those sites, those are the ones where we're flipping the model and turning the grid into the backup system, with the end game for us being sooner or later, we're going to turn the entire built environment into the power source, and you won't need a grid anymore.
So and how are you doing this? Like how like what I mean, I'm assuming solar. I've sold solar, so I'm assuming you're powering some by solar. What else? Is it all solar? Is it what
No,
are you?
no, that's a great question. I mean, for us, Harrison, the key is that which power sources you ought to use are driven geographically, right? And so think about it this way. If I live and my business operates next to Niagara Falls, I may want to consider hydrogen power or hydropower, right?
Okay, yeah.
Because the waterfall can create power. In fact, that's when the Niagara Falls was first created, almost all of the waterfall was a power source all the time. And they started building factories inside Niagara Falls. They eventually outlawed that and kicked them all out. But back in the 20s and 30s, that's what was going on in Niagara Falls. There were big smokestacks coming out and generators running from the.
Really?
Yes, it's kind of crazy if you go see the history there.
I've been there. I didn't realize that was I forgot about all the power. I didn't know it was outlawed now. That's very
Yeah,
interesting.
it's outlawed. So now there's power generation sources, but it's simply from the water running as opposed to factories there and then using the water to cool everything. So that's just a goofy example of if I live next to a waterfall, maybe I use hydropower. But if you live in the desert, maybe you should consider solar power, right?
So you're essentially looking at the business, saying geographically, okay, what makes sense? How can we make you off grid as possible, and then optimizing a system built around that.
That's right. And we have our own patented technology around wind turbines and around control systems, but it's not about a wind turbine unless it should be about a wind turbine. If you live in the northern area of Scotland, it's really windy all the time. You should use a wind turbine, right? And so it just depends on where you are, and we will combine them all. We will use wind, solar, battery, hydrogen, geothermal, nuclear, whatever it takes to get you the power you need on your site, and then use the grid as your backup system.
And then do y'all have like some proprietary software that mixes them? Is that right?
That's right. We have we have the proprietary hardware that allows you to blend different power sources. That's not really easily done. The big macro grid, like the utilities, they do that for you, and we don't ever even see it. But when it comes to doing it at your manufacturing plant or your hospital, to do that stuff on your site, it's a little more complicated. We created the hardware to do that, and we've partnered with IBM that creates the software to make that happen as
Okay.
efficiently as possible.
Okay, that's so okay. And it is you did partner with IBM on that, so okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and then we co-developed the software we call the microgrid management system, because ultimately what we're doing is called a microgrid, right? It's a little miniature grid on your site making you all the power you need for whatever it is you need. And it's typically for businesses and buildings, commercial and industrial applications.
That's so where who I mean, I know you just got back from London. Who's buying this stuff? Who's going off grid? Like have you had any celebrities? I feel like there's got to be a couple celebs that you don't want to tell us about that have been doing some off.
Well, we typically don't do like residential homes, but there are some celebrities whose homes are bigger than some of the buildings we
Yeah,
do.
well, yeah.
So we could certainly look into it. There are people who have gone off grid. I mean, if you spend any time in the Caribbean, where we've spent a lot of time, there are a number of places that people have said, "Hey, I'm going behind my gated doors, and we don't want anybody in. I don't even want the utility guy coming in because I have my own generators." Right? So it's certainly possible. Yes, I just got back from London. Our focus there has been we installed with the British military, so the Ministry of Defence. They wanted to put a microgrid on their site because they wanted to be energy independent. They didn't want to be dependent on anybody. It was a matter of national security. That's a good reason.
Yeah.
And then there are other sites, that we have multiple projects that we're now deploying with large universities who have a real keen interest not only in sustainability but on resilience, meaning they can be up all the time, and they want to train their next generation of students to learn about renewable technologies and learn about microgrids and learn about what does the future look like and how can we bring students in here based on what we have actually happening at our site, where they can actually train to become experts in that area as well. So we're very involved in some of the schools that are over there in the UK, and we got a few of those here in the US as well. But ultimately, our primary client is anybody with a building, right?
Yeah.
So if you got a building and you want to operate that building and you don't want to be dependent on the grid going down, then you should do it. And these days it's a big deal, Harrison. Look what just happened, yesterday in Spain and Portugal, right? All the airports went down and these guys were stuck. And
I mean, yeah, I mean, I mean, and I'm just thinking in Texas in general, when we had that big ice storm, or
right.
I'm very much. I sold the worst job I've ever done in my entire life was sell solar for a corporate company that was ripping everybody off. I'm not going to name who they are, but they're the largest in the country, and it was the worst job ever. So I'm very familiar with. Definitely want to be off grid, like 100%. But I think with solar in particular, a lot of these we would go and sell these guys on these systems that aren't necessarily off grid. They're using the grid, and you're kind of off grid. You might be off grid on a sunny day, but to be completely off grid is got to be something that is very, like, everybody should want that.
And it's a lot more complicated to do it, but you're right. Everybody does want it. Look, if I'm running a manufacturing site and I'm running 3 shifts a day, which happens at a lot of the really big manufacturers, and you don't even realize it, but right down the street from where you live, there's probably people that are running 3 shifts 24/7, 365, right? Yeah. And if you go down with your power, like you're losing revenue for as long as you're down because you're not putting product out the door. So that's a simple just money-making reason. But what if you're a hospital, right? Yeah. If you're a hospital and the electrification of your site, people's lives depend on it. So they don't ever go down, but what happens to them is they have these massive backup generators in the basement, and they have these huge on-site containers full of gas and fuel, right? And that can be challenging First of all, what if you run out? And second of all, they're also a target for something to happen that could be dangerous on that site. So I think that's what we saw happen at the airports. It happened last month at Heathrow Airport, where people it hasn't been proven yet, but the suggestion is that there was some sort of foul play around one of the substations. Substation exploded. Heathrow Airport went down, lost $100 million in a day. Right. And, that's one day. Just because you're down for one day, that's a big number. And so if you carry that forward to any site that is dependent on that kind of vast amount of power, you're right. You want to go off grid, right? You want to be able to be in control of your own power for whatever it might be. It's not just to charge your phone, but people's lives may depend on it.
Yeah. Well, so how are you? I mean, what's your DFW presence like? Like, are a lot of your projects here? I know you mentioned some universities in the States. Like, how are you finding clients, and how are you kind of like, how are you getting the word out?
Yeah, it's a great question. So, we don't have any projects in DFW. One of the most challenging things about Dallas and in Texas in general is that power is pretty inexpensive.
Yeah.
So, which is great for Texas. I mean, good for Texas. Texas has more oil than anybody else, and it also has more wind installed than anybody else. And I think last year it installed more solar than anybody else in the country. And, with Tesla and some of the other big companies moving into down around the Austin area, there is a lot of battery production that's also happening in the state as well. So the entire state is pretty well prepared power-wise. That is not the case in most of the planet, right? So even though we have plenty of clients who are interested in the DFW area, the economics are not very compelling. And let me just give you an example. You probably pay somewhere between 10 and 12 cents a kilowatt hour for your power, right?
Yeah.
Right. Well, Hawaii businesses, not individuals, businesses in Hawaii pay 35 cents a kilowatt hour.
And
California
was like 56 cents a kilowatt.
Right. Right. And in the UK, it's 30 pence, which is about 40 cents a kilowatt hour. So, the numbers in some locations are 3 and 4 times what they are in Texas. So, the economics in those locations are just far better for anybody. So it makes it a very compelling answer to say, wait, if I could save all that money, if I owned it myself, I should do this. So there's no reason why we can't do it in Texas also. It's just more compelling in other places financially.
So is it kind of like solar where they're paying? I mean, do you do financing options? Is it a loan? Is it a monthly payment where, because I know solar, we used to compare monthly payment to monthly payment. Is it something like that, or is it not like that?
It can be. It's a good question, Harrison. It's really both. So we will offer it on a monthly payment schedule where we will still own it ourselves and we will finance the whole thing ourselves. You just pay us this amount over time. That's fine. Some utilities are doing that. That's what the solar model was for a little while. Ours, we're going to put wind and solar and battery all in the same site for a commercial building. Sometimes those buildings want to own it outright. And so they'll just buy the whole kit, as they say in the UK, the kit, which is the whole installation.
There it is.
I had to bring some of the language in.
Yeah, well, on there.
But so they buy the whole installation themselves. They own it, and we just come in and help them maintain it over time.
Okay.
So.
Okay. So
it depends.
You have the cash or the financing option. Do you have the proprietary lease to own option? Is that an option as well, or is it?
It is. Leases are a good option. I mean, leases operate. You've heard that some people may have heard the term energy as a service, right? Like software as a service, the old SaaS model. It's now the energy as a service model, and so that can work too, and that can work under a leasing function or just a service contract. So what it comes down to is we pretty much was structured any way the client really wants to, right? It's up to them. If you want to go off grid, we can help you get there, whether that's us financing it or you financing it or some other structured contract. It doesn't matter. Let's get the project done.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I mean, that's all like, that all makes sense with the solar. I mean, what is the price per kilowatt? I mean, is there do you have like a typical, is it 40 cents per kilowatt hour used, or is it like anything?
The way we do it is we say, whatever it is you're paying today, we're going to save you between 10 and 20%. Period.
10 and 20% even at a place like Texas, or 10 and 20%?
Well, Texas is just harder to get there. I mean, we end up making less money. It's a skinnier margin. It's a tougher market. But if you really want to get there, we'll get you there. right? I mean, there's ways to get it done. It just isn't as lucrative in that area. So because we're still fairly new. Well, we've been at it for 10 years, but we're still just deploying the last couple of years. We spent many, many years in R&D and getting it right. I mean, you don't see a lot of wind turbines on rooftops for a reason because
Yeah.
it's very hard to do. And yet we figured that out and we installed back in 2020 for the first time. We've survived multiple hurricanes in our installation in Florida. And now we've installed with the British military for the last 2 years. So we're in really good shape for taking this market by storm, but we're still going to be careful and make sure that we kind of grab the low hanging fruit first, which is in markets where they're paying a lot of money for, because that's where they need a better answer immediately, right?
Top three
Texas
markets.
doesn't need as big an answer right away. We'll do it, but just doesn't. There's not as much of a like this. Oh my gosh, I have to solve my energy problem because people aren't thinking like that in Texas.
What would be your top three markets to get into right now?
Hawaii, the UK, and there are pockets around in the U.S., mostly California, and then a couple of other small areas. But I would say Hawaii and the UK are our most aggressive target markets at the moment. We spent a lot of time in the Caribbean where you would think we would be really, really valuable. It's just harder to get business done in that area, honestly.
Fun places to be doing business, though. If I gotta, I mean, if I,
Yeah, look, if we have to go do due diligence, I volunteer.
yeah, Hawaii, sign me up for that one. I'm down.
Yeah.
If you need any help, if you need any just like boots on the ground, just let me know.
It's a great place. Look, Hawaii's fantastic. I love it. We just sponsored a conference out there at the beginning of the year for RE Plus Hawaii, and that was a great conference to do, and it was packed because a lot of people like to go to a conference in Hawaii. Right? But at the same time, there was a lot of work that's getting done. Conferences these days, I can remember 20 years ago in my prior career, right when I was ending that career, conferences were kind of boondoggles, and everybody thought it was goofy. These days, every conference I go to, people are getting a lot of work done. Like people are scheduling meetings at these conferences. They really are doing great work. And it's different than it used to be. And I love that because what a great way to get business done when you've got everybody in the same place at the same time, right?
Same place. I can't. I'm so happy that you said that because it is the networking, whatever you want to call them, conferences. They have stepped their game up so much in the last couple years, and like I've just recently started to enroll in mastermind groups. That's how we got on a phone call, was using techniques that they've taught me on how to actually
Yeah.
reach people and
Yeah.
learn from the people that, man, I wish I would have spent my $75,000 that I spent on college. If I would have spent it on masterminds, I would have been like, it would just be, I would definitely have a lot more money than I currently.
No, wait. You don't need to go to spending money. You ought to be collecting that money. You should teach masterminds, Harrison.
Yeah. Well, that you can always that's definitely in the plans, but there's also the you do need to learn from like solid people, and you really can learn a lot, really, and grow your network. And it is, and at the end of the day, it's fun. Let's go to Hawaii. Someone today, I got on a call with somebody today, and they said Vegas. I said I'm out. I want to go.
I've got 2 more conferences in Vegas this year, and I am getting tired of it, honestly.
Me and Vegas we do not get along. Like,
What do you mean? You can fit right in there.
oh yeah, I know that's the problem. That's the problem is that Vegas just happens, and then it's like, what? Why is it Wednesday? Like what happened?
Well,
What, are we- what-
Well, look, here's what I would say about that, though. Honestly, I mean, Vegas has some of the best convention center space in the world, right? And so you can throw a great conference in Vegas in a lot of different places. And because the convention centers, I think the conference planners these days, and certainly in my estimation, and I've been going to conferences for many, many years, people are just starting to figure out the right formula, right? There's a good formula of really great breakout sessions where you actually do learn something, right? You go there and what the people have to offer is valuable. They're not just throwing anybody who paid them money up on a platform.
Yeah.
They're putting leadership, they're putting mastermind type people in front of the room and saying, teach the rest of the room, please. And that's actually happening. So when you go to a breakout session for a conference, you get there and you're like, I just learned something. That was great. And then you want to connect with the people who did that, but you're also connecting with other people who are there for that same reason. They have an appetite for learning. And one thing we always do, not only at Hover, but with everything I've ever done, you want to hire people who are always trying to learn. right? If someone's not trying to learn, then they think they figured it all out, right? And that's a surefire sign that they haven't. I mean, I'm still learning, and I can't wait to get my PhD someday, right? I'm always trying to find a way to learn about something, and so I feel like you step into those environments these days, and most conferences have opportunity for you to learn something. And so, even if you just went and sat in the room and absorbed, it'll be valuable to you. But like you said, now the networking kicks in afterwards.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
put these great, apps together where you can connect directly with people at the conference that you might never bump into. But if you go searching for them and find out who's in your industry and who's doing something, you can set up meetings and get work done. And so the actual valuable content with the application technology that has come together allows you to really have a great experience. And I think that, to me, it's only getting better. And like you said, then stick that whole model and put it on Hawaii, and you can't go wrong, right? Because
That's why, dude.
you're going to have a few moments to yourself at some point for 5 days. So why not walk down to the beach, right?
No, I mean, and so like I said, that's what this Elevate event series we are all about. It's our hashtag is make networking fun again. Like, please, like, and especially make Dallas networking fun again, because when I moved to Dallas, Sunday Funday was the reason I moved to Dallas. That was the reason, and it hasn't been fun in a long time. And as a fresh new dad, I'm trying to, like, I don't I have a bedtime now, and it's like 10 o'clock. And so if and the baby wakes up at like 3 a.m. So if I'm hungover at 3 a.m., that's not gonna be fun at all. So I try to do stuff during the day, brunch stuff. And so that's what we're on here at Elevate Event Series. I mean, I believe there's so much power in bringing people together,
There
and
really is.
with bringing people together with a purpose of, hey, let's get to know, like, and trust each other. I learn a little bit about what you do, you learn a little bit about what we do. Let's party, and then we can talk about everything else on Tuesday or Wednesday when we all get caught up. So that's kind of the format of Elevate Event Series in general. So I'm glad we touched on that a little bit. Now I got one last question for you.
Come on.
I need you to close your eyes. This is everyone gets this. I need you to close your eyes.
Oh my gosh. What are you going to do? Are you gonna digitally paint something on my face and I can't see it?
Nothing's gonna happen bad. You
All
just
right. I'm closing my eyes, Harrison. Go ahead.
close your eyes, and I want you to picture your hover dream event. You're the headline sponsor. It's your event. You paint the picture. What does that event look like?
My gosh, I don't need my eyes closed for that. I know what that is.
All right.
So we're all on a boat, right?
Oh, I like this already.
There's 200 people on a massive, very high end yachting system, and we are coming up to an island on which there are already 24 hover turbines installed at night. And we're coming up at night, and they're all glowing bright blue because they're spinning. And we're noticing that power is being generated at night like solar can't be. And as we're pulling up to the island, we've got a band up on the deck playing for our event, right? That is really kind of like this, like this gladiator song, kind of like this anticipatory, like we're going into battle. And there's this movie screen while the band is playing, showing screenshots of power being deployed all over the planet, and the planet lighting up, and we saying, now the entire planet is resilient.
Hover energy.
Hover
That's
energy.
commercial right there.
Fade to black.
You need, like, Rufus the Soul to do like a sunset session set. Oh my God, that would be.
There you go. See, that's what we're saying.
We just think that. Just let me know when you find that island. We can. The rest is easy. That's just.
Grand Cayman wants to do it already, so we're there. It's actually there's 3 islands in the Cayman Islands, right? There's Grand Cayman, Little Cayman, as they say it. They don't say Cayman, Little Cayman, and then Cayman Brac. Cayman Brac has a cliff that is 40 feet, kind of looks like the cliffs of Dover in Ireland, where we've speculated, and they haven't approved it yet, but their utility there, Cayman CUC, has approved putting up turbines all along this cliff. And so let's go.
This could very
Let's
well.
Elevate doing the event series.
I'm ready.
Cayman Islands.
You give me the go ahead and I'll plan that one. I'll have drones. We'll have that one fully photography.
Drones. I hadn't thought about the drones. You're right. We need to do that.
Yeah, you need like a couple drones, some LED. I would do some like LED lighting. I'll actually, when you said that, I have a vision. Rufus Du Sol they did a set out in Joshua Tree, and it's on YouTube. I don't know if you like Rufus Du Sol or not, but I don't know. You're like, who the hell is Rufus Du Sol?
Yeah, I've heard Rufus Du Sol. I'm a Dave Matthews fan. So
I mean, you look pretty hip. Like you look pretty hip. So I was like, man, I don't know if you go to Burning Man or not, but you look like you might go to Burning Man.
yeah, I've stayed away from Burning Man. Although I hear they just in downtown San Francisco they just installed an old look like a Burning Man statue that's sitting down right down off the piers right now in downtown San Francisco.
I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, anyway, I have not been to Burning Man. I know some people who've been there. I know a friend.
I'm gonna send you the Rufus thing, and then let me think. The Dave Matthews. That's a. I mean, those are impossibilities too. We can make that happen.
They're not impossibilities.
We take all requests at Elevate Event Series, and we make it happen for you.
That's it. That's it. Good.
Well, cool. Hey, thank you so much for coming on board. I know you got a lot going on, and like really appreciate it. This was definitely my favorite podcast so far. I'm sorry, I do pick favorites, so you're by far my favorite so far. And that dream event, like, let me know I'm in. Like,
Well, yeah. Look, you guys are doing great work. So keep it up, Harrison. And if we can help you guys with one of your events in Dallas, we're there. That's our home base. So anytime you want, if Hubbard can help, you just let us know.
Yeah, we'll talk off air about that. But yeah, 100%. Thank you.
Sure.
So much. All right.
Appreciate it. Thanks, everybody.
Chris.